Hello, today I'm going to be doing a look that is based on a look that I saw Emily Blunt wear in The Devil Wears Prada. It is the scene where Andy walks in after being made over and she has on the Chanel boots, and her character Emily Charlton and Serena look at her in awe and they're just shocked and stuff. Anyway, she has a gorgeous cat eye on that I've always thought was the most beautiful makeup in the movie, but I might be kind of biased there. Either way, that's the look I'm doing, so let's get started. So firstly, her foundation is pretty matte. I've mentioned before in videos that my skin's really dry and I can't really handle completely matte foundation, so I'm just going to use a satin matte foundation. So I'm using the Revlon ColorStay makeup for normal to dry skin. And I have to mix two colors because they don't really have my color. So I'm using Ivory and Sand Beige. What really irks me about this is that they have a really good match for me in the oily skin formula. I'm using a Cosette P300 as usual. So Emily's hair is red in the whole movie, and wearing a red eyeshadow underneath my brows would look absolutely crazy. So I'm just going to use the color that I usually use, which is MAC Cork. So you can use pretty much whatever suits your natural hair color. And she doesn't really have a particularly specific shape, just kind of filled in the ideal shape. I'm going to use my favorite eyeshadow base, which is the Almay Bright Eyes Eye Base Plus Concealer. If you have oily eyelids, you might have to go with an Urban Decay Primer Potion or a Too Faced Shadow Insurance, but I have dry skin, and the only reason I need a primer is because I use a pretty emollient moisturizer that makes my eyeshadows crease. So this is a really good drugstore primer, but if you do have like really oily eyelids, I would go with an actual primer. Emily has a pretty matte eye look. I'm just going to use first a soft wash of shadow all over before I add in any definition, and I'm just going to use Brulee from MAC on a Clinique brush. This is a really big fluffy brush. I'm surprised that they call it the shader brush, but that is what they call it. She has some slight definition on the outer kind of half of her eye, and you can't really see it in the picture that I posted on my blog, and I tried to get a screenshot from when I was watching the movie, but for some reason, probably copyright issues, Grab will not work when the DVD player is open. So I'm going to use Yaby Eyeshadow in Old Barn. And these eyeshadows are really great because they're very pigmented, even though they're very small. And I'm going to concentrate that on the outer corner of the eye and just bring it about halfway in. And I'm using a MAC 222. I'm taking a Sigma E25 blending brush to just blend that out. If you see any green on the bristles, it's from my Sophie Ellis Bextor tutorial. That Stars Makeup Haven eyeshadow is insanely pigmented and refuses to leave my white brushes, even after multiple washes. Now I'm just going to reapply and then blend again. There's only a little bit of shimmer in the inner corner of the eye, and that's like all the shimmer that's in this entire look. So I'm just going to take this color here. It is the bottom corner. It's kind of diagonally the second one in the Coastal Scents Neutral Eye Palette. I did not get this from Coastal Scents. I got it on eBay cheaper, so I'll leave a link to the seller in the info bar. And I'm using Sigma E45. Just putting that into the inner corner. Now I'm going to take my Milani Liquif'eye black eyeliner pencil, and I'm just going to put this on the lower lash line. I'm going to blend that slightly with the Sephora Professional Smoky Eye Brush, just so that it's smooth. I'm going to use the same brush to put on a little bit of black shadow underneath. I'm going to use Yaby Abyss. Now I'm going to take the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Gel Eyeliner in Stay Onyx and Louise Young LY24. And I'm going to use this to make her cat eye. She's got a pretty thick line on, so just build this up slowly. And it doesn't really taper in, it's pretty much thick all the way in. When you get to the end, just kind of follow the end of the liner we put on to line up with and bring it in. She's not wearing any false lashes or anything in this look, so I'm just going to use the L'Oreal Voluminous Original just on the top lashes. I'm going to put a little bit on the lower lashes too, but not so that it's a feature, just concentrate it at the base of the lashes. So I'm putting on much less than usual. So that's the eyes done, as Pixie 2 Woo would say. Like I said, her foundation is kind of a satin matte finish, so I'm just going to use my Clarins Poudre d'Oser, or just loose powder, as people who speak English say it, yes. I'm just using a Sigma F20. It looks like Emily has a little bit of bronzing underneath her cheekbones, maybe underneath her jaw, but not really anywhere else. It's not incredibly obvious contouring, so I'm just going to skip the temple area today. And I'm going to use the MARC Pro Bronzing Powder in Bronze. And I'm using a Sigma F25. Make sure not to make it look too contoured, just a light dusting. And really blend it. She has a light peach on the apples of her cheeks, so I'm going to use the Natural Collection blush in Peach Melba. This was sent to me by my friend Lauren. Thank you so much, Lauren. It's lovely and coming in handy, as you can see. So I'm just going to use MAC 109. Emily doesn't really have a highlight on, it's just pretty much a matte basic look. So I'm just going to finish off with the lips. Her lips look muted, but they don't look glossy. So it's kind of like she's wearing a sheer but not too glossy lipstick, and the only lipstick I know that can do that is Max Hue. So I'm just going to use that. So that is my Emily Charlton look from The Devil Wears Prada. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.